They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no game. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No, my ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Welcome back to another edition of New Freedom Exchange, your culture and expression for social dignity and empowerment. I'm your co-host, Brother Dean, here with...
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Marsha.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Marsha. What's going on? This is Imam Bilal Hassan, but today is the Eco Beloved today, man. For the topic, man. So, thank you all for tuning in. Wa alaikum assalam. The Imam.
Yes, Rashad, Abdul Rahman.
You're from Atlanta, ATL's in the house, New York City's in the house, and Newark, New Jersey is also in the house. And
I'm from Jersey City. I'm from Jersey City.
Okay, all right. Jersey City, Newark, and Central PA, the York and Harrisburg folks. We're here. So anyone who's tuning in, let us know where you're from so we can shout you out, bring you up on the screen, what city you're from. Of course, Khadija, my sister, is here. Assalamu alaikum. She says she always.
She said hey to Marsha.
It's the sisters thing, man. That's what the sisters do. But yeah, so let us know where you're tuned in from, so we can bring you up to the shout you out, and etc. Also, if you're here, please share this live stream to your friends and family. Let them know to come join us this evening for our very special edition of Community Conversations here on NFX. Oh, here we go. The West Coast is in the town. Oak Town with the U. The Bay Area. Shout out to the Bay Area. Last night there was the verses between Too Short and E40. So all the Oakland people in the Bay Area was very happy last night. For those who know who E40 and Too Short is. But yeah, so how's everyone doing now?
Pretty good. Today was super busy. It was super busy, but I'm still hanging in there with y'all. As always, we had class this morning, and then
of course,
And here in Newark, we had a program, taking care of your business, an important Islamic discussion on wills and burials. And so I moderated that, and so it was good. It was a really good discussion. Like, I feel like as a community, we don't always talk about the intricacies of what's involved in what we believe in our faith. And so to have the discussion about what being prepared for when a person does expire, you know, what paperwork should be in place so that it's not complicated. I mean, we always talk about, well, you know, we got to be buried in 3 days, but it's really hard to do that when your paperwork is not in order. And to have the discussion about it today was a really eye-opening discussion, because I think for most of the people on the Zoom, they learned a lot about things that they probably never just really even considered. You know, I think we sort of scrounge around at the last minute when it turns to a lot, and it doesn't have to be that way if we have the information that we need prior to, so that it's all in place once you go.
Excellent. Very important, crucial conversation. How about you, Brother Dean?
Yeah, everything's coming along. I wish I wanted to give a special shout out to Bilal, aka the Eco Beloved, because he prepared us. He prepared us for this weather storm we got down here.
Yes,
And I didn't listen to him.
Oh yeah, tell them about you. Tell them about you freeballing with your car down the hill, man. Ice, man. Tell them about that, man.
I didn't leave the work site in a good enough time, and I got stuck in the blizzard, and everybody was sliding around. And alhamdulillah, we made it home. I took a couple of back routes, and had to help
be careful.
cars up the hill.
But you gotta be careful them back routes. I told you about that, man. They ice out real bad, man. You understand?
Yeah. So next time y'all hear the Eco Beloved give y'all the directions, pay attention.
Take heed.
Yeah, just try to give advice. But I guess it's my turn. Yeah, so everything is, alhamdulillah, everything is well. Healthy, of course. Thankful. Very thankful for that. For good health. Also, what happened this week? Yeah, well, my mom is coming home. She'll be coming home from rehab on Tuesday. She'll be coming back home Tuesday with her regiment. Obviously, we're going to still be helping her with her regiment and making sure that she's continues to build up strength while here at home, and just walking as much as she can, and just around the community, around the area. So so that's good news. What was the other news? So what was the other news? Oh yes, so we have started the new segment, which is my segment, the Eco Beloved segment here on the Freedom Exchange. Sister Marsha will be coming with her segment, so we're all coming with our segments, and we're also working with others to come with their new segments onto the show as well, just to again build this channel, because this is like a channel. You know, when you turn a channel on TV, like instead of like flipping to the dials, you're getting something substantial. Like, we want to leave something with you all that it makes sense, it's substantial, it's logical, something that you can apply to. My level of expertise on one regard is, like Brother Dean says, was to prepare and give people, try to give people an accurate forecast as it relates to our climate, our physical climate, and our with the weather and the climate, as though those are ever-changing topics, which we will discuss. Actually, that's part of the overall discussion, the theme for this community conversation. And we're also going to be streaming here a conversation on white supremacy and environmental justice, as those two connect. One of my mentors from Atlanta delivered that presentation. We're actually be streaming this onto our platform and having a conversation with her on this platform about that conversation that took place. A very important topic, a very crucial topic. The injustices that we as men inflicted upon each other, environmentally speaking, has gone unchecked by us, but of course doesn't go by unchecked by the Creator. But anyway, I will not go too far, because I want the Imam to let us know how he's doing and what's up with him.
Bismillah. Well, praise be to Allah. Good day. Very good day. Productive day. I did about I have classes in the morning for about 3 hours. So we did that. I worked on some writing. I have some writings that I have so many books, man. I'm gonna have to. I've started to organize myself much better. I've been working on that this week. I've actually took some training, not formally. I just read some books on just how to organize. That's been my problem for years, because my mind goes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I try to read everything, and I got a bunch of book ideas. So I'm really trying to streamline for the sake of productivity. So I was actually able to do that. I made a lot of headway this week. I read about 3 books this week, man, and I wrote several pages. So today I focused on the class, did some more writing. So I'm feeling very good. I'm actually on a new schedule. I've been getting up at like 4, and from 4 to 8 I'm studying, 8 to 9 exercising. So by 9 o'clock, now I have all my free. I'm basically free. So I'm writing. I'm spending some time with the family. Then I'm going back, and it's made me extremely productive. Just implementing some of the principles from my schedule. It kind of threw me off because I was exercising and I was waking up for tahajjud. So it's a little bit of adjustment that has to take place. I'm waking up for tahajjud at 10. Bedtime at 8, so waking up for tahajjud at 10. So it's a little bit of adjustment, but I'm loving it in terms of productivity. And I have a lot of children in my house, man. So I just the quietness, the stillness of the night, or early morning, 4, 5, 6. That's a good time for thoughts anyway. Let alone there's no distractions. So I have a whole table filled with notes and everything. So, but other than that, I met with I had a meet with brother Sharif Abdul Malik earlier. We talked today. I had a meeting with another brother earlier in the week, at the beginning of the week, who does some big business here in the Atlanta area. So there's some good things happening. There's some very good things happening, actually. So we are really closing in on the time where these things that we're talking about, we're going to see them manifest in terms of the contribution that we're going to make to the world. We've had people from high places, very high places, such as, organizations like the UN, and also local government, and state government, state government, city government, reach out. We have people in our community doing big things, and in our language, they want it. They're asking for it. So it's just a matter of time. So alhamdulillah, man, it's all on the up and up.
Alhamdulillah, sounds good. So we got to shout out New York City again. Shout out to Mustafa Sabri for checking in. We have to shout out Maryland for our people tuning in the DMV area, Maryland, DC, Virginia, etc. We do want to express our condolences actually to 2 believers who have passed away. I mean, there was many. It's been many. It's hard to keep track. But brother Tariq, Medine, you can help me with this one. Help us with the
Tariq. Ishmael Abdul Akbar. His father passed away yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. Yeah.
So he's coming back from Tanzania. He's on a plane actually today, so he should be back in the morning. Inshallah, they're going to do the wash and shroud, and most likely the janazah will be tomorrow afternoon sometime.
And also, sister Umi, I want to get this right. Umitul al Ukhta, you understand what I'm saying, had passed away. She was a very supportive of this community, very supportive of our institutions here at the Muslim Journal, our conventions, etc. She had moved recently down to Maryland to be with her grandchildren, etc. And she fallen ill, and she passed away a few days ago. And they just had her janazah and buried her as well in Maryland, and it was streamed as well. So just want to say keep those believers in your prayers, and keep those who are sick in your prayers as well, for them to be healed, inshallah. So tonight, without no further ado, our community conversation is focused on the theme of science and religion. And it's important that we establish the definitions of these terms, and we agree as a community platform to accept these definitions of these two terms here. So let us define first what is science. Now, I know y'all don't like the Webster, but I know we don't like the Webster, but let's see what does the Webster say about science? Actually, this is not from the Webster. This is from the sciencecouncil.org. They define science as the pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural and social world following a systematic methodology based on evidence. It goes to the scientific method, includes the following: objective observation, measurement, and data, possibly, although not necessarily, using mathematics as a tool. Okay. So do we accept that definition for science?
Who are you asking?
Well, the Imam, do we accept the definition of science? Is that okay?
I don't know what you're trying to set me up for. That's why I'm nervous.
Because it felt like a setup to me too.
It's not a setup. It's not a setup. I'm just asking: are we accepting that definition to further this conversation for tonight? Are we accepting that definition for science?
I accept it on the condition that it's not an exclusive. We don't accept that as an exclusive.
Okay.
definition.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. Now, religion. Again, this is going to give me a Webster definition. It's a noun: the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Now, we know we're not agreeing with this definition. So please, Imam, give us a better definition for religion.
Well, so Bismillah. Where did you get that from? So no, for all the reason I returned to really my comments from the what you just mentioned.
Okay.
Everything about science, we have to understand that our book is not just a book alongside other books. That in our book we have definitions, we have understandings of these things as well, and we only accept from the world what is in agreement with our knowledge source, which is the Quran. So when people ask us, when we're asked the question, what is religion? The Prophet said religion is sincerity. Sincerity for God, his messenger, the books. I'm sorry, God, his books, his messenger, the leaders, and for the community as a whole. That's one of the definitions of religion. And then religion in the Quran is presented as the manner in which human nature itself expresses. It naturally expresses on the earth. It naturally expresses itself on the earth. And consequently, religion evolves. It has a core, and then it evolves over time as man's life evolves. And then we know religion in other meanings too, such as judgment, etc. But we'll stop there. For us, religion doesn't begin with a belief in a supernatural or superhuman or something like that. Religion is man's natural expression or natural life expression. That's what religion is.
And the Quranic term, can you share?
Deen. Interestingly enough, who asked that question? Yes, sir. Deen. So deen, it comes from a word dain, or it's connected to a word dain, and dain means debt, and it's in the nature of the human being to feel indebtedness, and connected to indebtedness is a sense of gratitude for its circumstances. So this is the way the child is when it's raised or nurtured by his mother. It feels a sense of connectedness, trust, love, indebtedness, gratitude. And historically speaking, that is what has been impressed upon the innocent spirit of man in terms of how he has experienced his life on this earth. And as he has graduated in intelligence, then that sense of indebtedness comes into more and more complexity of expression. So that's what religion is. So it begins with that feeling, or that sense, that inborn sense, and him responding to that inborn sense. So that's how we see it.
Go ahead, Dean. Now, just before you go, just the connection to dunya, because I know as we're going to talk about science and religion, how it should be separated. Some also people make the distinction of the material world or like the social world versus the religious world.
Right. So a lot of these things, I don't know if we'll have time to talk about all of it, but that sort of dichotomy, that's the deen and the dunya, we have to be careful, because if we speak about them as two mutually opposed realms, then we are following the influence of the shaitan. We know that influence is in the West. The Satan has influenced the West to separate the world into the secular and then the religious. We don't have that from an Islamic perspective. The dunya, the material world, is the act, ACT, of God. Therefore, it is imbued with God's presence, or his will, for to put it in a more, a way that doesn't cause as much trouble. And this is just standard Islamic knowledge. This is not like something that's unique to our community. It's just, this is pretty much the way it's taught in the Islamic philosophy or theology, but philosophy is a better term. The natural world itself is the way that God manifests himself. Other than the revealed word, he manifests himself, he expresses himself, and he is always bringing about and supporting the very existence of the created world. So how could there be this separation? And it's addressed in several places, in several different traditions, in different ways. So, for example, the Prophet informed us that the whole earth is a masjid, telling us then that the whole earth, and that can be extended to the material world, but let's just stick with the earth. The whole earth is a sacred space. There's no separation of the sacred and the profane. The whole earth is a temple, and the relationship between man and the earth, then, or man in the natural world, is that it serves as a doorway to coming to know more the reality of God. So I'm sure we'll get to this, but this is how we see it.
Marsha, you had a question?
Yeah, well, wasn't a question. Well, maybe it'll wind up being a question, but initially, where I was sort of going to where the Imam just went more, but I wanted to also say that I feel like society as a whole makes the choice to have dunya versus deen, secular versus religious, religion versus science, because then we get to compartmentalize these aspects of life, of the one life, right? But it also gives us I guess an excuse to do some different things in those different compartments in our lives. And what I was thinking about earlier, as I was preparing for the show, I know that a lot of people sort of make this distinction between religion and science, right? Going to school, depending on what school system you were a part of when you were younger, there was this whole push with what the evolution of man was and how it came to be. And obviously, those things that were being taught were contrary to what we know in the religious realm of things. And in my mind, it just felt false. Like, how could you separate this creation from the creator, right? So if you consider yourself to be religious or whatever terms you want to use, right? But you're God conscious. Then how then do you separate how the creation came to be from your belief? And I just wanted to sort of extend that thought and say, you know, or maybe I'll go with the question, like, what is the danger of doing that? And you know, what's even the, like, why would we do that? You know, as conscious people now, why would we separate religion from science?
Well, it has a, you know, to really deal with these issues, we have to see, we kind of have to go to the root. We have to go to the root of the issue and work our way forward. So we're Muslim, and as Islam, Al-Islam is a part of the Abrahamic faith tradition. So meaning that we are tied to the Jews and the Christians, and we all say that our common tie is Abraham. And in Islam, he's called our second father because he, unlike Adam, our first father, who is the beginning of man as a flesh life and the dawning of consciousness in that flesh, Abraham specifically is that consciousness that has now arrived or has now been connected with the whole created reality. And he perceives the created reality as the creation of God. And he sees not only it as the creation of God, but more specifically, he sees it in its systemic nature and structure as a body of knowledge that God created for the intellect of man to use to actually find God. God created the universe for the intellect of man so that the intellect of man, by way of the universe, would find God. And by way of finding God, he finds his purpose in the universe, which is to extract from that knowledge and to make use of that knowledge for the advance of his life in the world. So the monotheistic concept, what we call in Al-Islam Tawheed, it is really the key to the sciences of the universe. It's the key to industry. It's also the key to public education and government, ethics. It's the key to everything because it ties in, or it establishes the basis for how we see man's true life and purpose in this world. That's where it begins. But this insight has been corrupted by the enemy of man. So the issue that the Quran takes up with the scripture that came before is how the idea, one of them, a lot of ideas, but they all are based upon this one idea or the corruption of this one idea. So there's a lot of problems in scripture, like what you just mentioned, Bilal, regarding white supremacy, the unequal distribution of wealth, the mistreatment of women. All of those problems can be solved if we go to the basis. And if we go to the basis or the root of the problem, and the root of the problem is the corruption of the idea of one God. Connected to the corruption of the idea of one God is the issue of secularism. Because all of the prophets brought this truth, the unity of God, and then consequently what follows. But there's an interest among some who were a part of the people of the book. They wanted the world. This is the argument of the Bible and the Quran addresses. They wanted dominance in the world. They wanted dominance over the material world. And they wanted, the only way to get dominance over the material world was to really get dominance over the spiritual world. And by getting dominance over both, they could separate them. They could separate the two. And they could lead one world and lead the other world. In other words, the only way to get dominance on the earth is to separate the worlds. If the worlds are kept together, then it's impossible for those who want dominance to maintain that dominance. So this is the issue of scripture. This is the issue of, for example, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. All of these things address that reality. And the Quran comes to put in clear terms and put in the hands of all of us the proper perception of this major issue. The Satan's major issue was to bring the world to secularism and humanism. That was his scheme. And to bring the world community to secularism and to humanism. And by doing that, he would have established himself as God on earth, thereby proving his original position that man is not worthy to rule on his own. But how does he do it? What's the way he does it? He does it through all of these things. Again, the crucifixion of Christ and all of that, what that means, and then all of these other problems for human beings on this earth. So that's kind of broad. I mean, I left it broad. I don't know the direction you all want to go in, but that's what we should be looking to understand this separation issue.
Well, I think let's frame it a little bit more. Let's frame the conversation a little bit more. And as we always like to do, we always like to at least our framework here on this platform is the generalist, the noble Quran. You understand what I'm saying? We like to frame our conversations, whatever we're doing, we like to frame it within that context in order to build it out. So I have here a couple of verses that reflect science in the Quran that make mention of certain things, and we can discuss it and we can extract some things from it, possibly, inshallah, God willing. So let's see which one we want to do. Let's do this one. Let's do Surah 2. Actually, there's 2 verses in Al-Baqarah. Let's do 164, verse 164, ayat 164. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the disparity of night and day, in the ship which runs upon the sea for the profit of mankind, in the water which Allah sent down from the sky, thereby reviving the earth after its death, in the beasts of all kinds He scatters therein, in the change of the winds and the subjected clouds between the sky and earth. Here are signs for people who are wise.
Right.
So immediately for me, since my academic background is in science, environmental science. So a lot of the verses in the Quran, and even in the Bible too, there are verses that reflect about rain, which is also symbolic of revelation. But if we want to just take the literal science of rain and the clouds, these were things that were mentioned. And this is a change of winds, the subject of clouds, the sky and earth. This is weather. This is science. This is weather. Allah is talking about weather. Allah is talking about how the winds push the clouds, which is true. And this is made mention. These things I made mention way before meteorology, the science of study of weather, and there's other verses that point to embryology and etc. were even talked about. Man, we didn't know this yet.
Right.
So my point of why I like to begin and pull these verses out of the Quran is because there, like you said, Imam Rashad, there's this separation of the sciences in between science and religion, and there's this in the scientific world. There's this talk about, well, everything just came to be, it was just confusion in the space, and everything just came to be. Everything just came together at some point, and then voila, Earth was created, the planets were created, and etc. I said, wait a minute, who's pulling that together for you?
Right. Yeah. So again, this is a very, I don't know if we're even addressing it in a methodical way. This is a very multi-layered subject. Okay. It's probably one of the biggest subjects in our study, because one of the things Imam Muhammad, he even told us, he said if he hadn't been a student and lover of science, he doesn't believe he would have been the kind of Imam that he was. But he was always a lover of the natural world. And as you all know, we discussed this in our classes, that he told us that the two biggest supports for the Quran, our study of the Quran, is the Bible and the natural world. So that can't be overlooked. So to address your point directly, when we so there's the issue of the separation between the two. And to really treat that issue, we would have to look at the Bible. We'd have to look at the Bible and the Western world. Now, to treat the work of the Muslims, or where the Muslims are in light of that, we have to look at the history of the Muslims and how they have been influenced to not get the benefit of the Quran, or to really be deceived from benefiting from the Quran in the manner that they once were, historically speaking. So these are different issues. And then when you just want to look at the Quran, I think that's what I'm hearing from you, just as verses from the Quran that promote scientific investigation. There are also levels there too. Meaning what? Number one, what you cited was the invitation to observe. Allah says, forget, like you said, ayat. So ayat literally means verses that communicate. And the Quran, the verses of the Quran are called ayat. So Allah says, these are the verses of the book. Recite to them the verses. And then he says, for instance, in this verse and in many other verses, in the phenomena of the natural world are ayat, the same word, which tells us then that the natural world is a book, just like the scripture is the book. Meaning that God not only communicates through the Quran, he communicates to man by way of everything that he created. That's the understanding that the scholars took from that. And in that verse specifically, لِقَوْمِ يَعْقِلُونَ, for men who use their aql. Aql can mean rational mind, but it can just mean the brain as a whole. So for men who use their brain, who use their intelligence, God is saying, observe the natural world. Use your intelligence, connect your brain with the operations of the natural world. And when you do that, you will see that God is speaking to your brain. God is communicating to your mind to give the mind guidance, just as the revelation is ayat that gives the man guidance, meaning it gives him what he needs to establish and progress his life on earth. The same thing comes about by way of intellectual, or engaging your intellect with the creation that God made. And that's the verse that you cited in several others. What's overlooked by a lot of Muslims who even advocate how we should be in the sciences is that the Quran doesn't just tell us to observe the world. It actually gives us methodology, and it gives us principles that govern how we are to go about that process. Again, this is one of the unique features of Imam Muhammad's commentary. I found it. Imam al-Ghazali, he wrote a book called The Just Balance, and he tried to show how the basic rules of logic are in the Quran. But other than that, I don't know of. I know that Ibn Khaldun and some others were advocating the empirical method based upon the language of the Quran, how it says observe. Most of the Islamic scholars were influenced by Neoplatonism and Aristotelian philosophy, which was very much mentally based. In other words, what they call reasoning, a certain kind of reason. You have I can't think of the word right now, but it's a certain process of reason, deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning was perceived as the supreme method whereby truth could be arrived at, as opposed to inductive. Now, as you all know, empirical sciences is really an inductive process. It's not a deductive process. So to a large extent, and persons like Iqbal wrote on this, to a large extent, the Muslims were under the influence of Greek thought. They weren't necessarily under the influence of the Quran in terms of methodology. They were under the influence of the Quran in terms of following the invitation to search. But in terms of the methods that they used in their search, they weren't extracting from the Quran. So that goes to your definition of knowledge or science in the beginning. Science is the methodology as well as the content, or the, like, if the methodology is the tree, then you have the fruit of the tree, and it's both. You see what I'm saying? So you have a scientist who has his method, then you have him, he publishes a paper or he writes a book with the actual information, his findings. That's the fruit. So you have both. But for us, the fruit entails a little bit more, because for us, knowledge and ethics are never to be separated. God says he made the world. He says, "Wasi'a kulla shay'in rahma wa ilma," knowledge and mercy. So you have the knowledge, you have the method that you arrive at your conclusions, but you also have the role that this conclusion is to have in servicing human life on this earth. You see what I'm saying? And that's different. And the purpose of the role has to always be a continuation of the work of God, the two mercies. He created, you see what I'm saying? He created the world as a mercy. He reveals as a mercy. So whatever man discovers by way of ilm, he is to also extend the principle of mercy. So mercy governs how he uses the knowledge. And that's where you get wisdom. So this is why Imam Muhammad, he said, wisdom is knowledge applied with mercy. Now, back to the issue of methodology. Throughout the course of Imam Muhammad's commentary, he brought out the issues of method in the Quran. The first one, that's really the first one, and we do this when we do Surah Al-Ikhlas in our class. When you actually observe the narration of Abraham in the 6th Surah, 75th ayah, you notice that he's undergoing a certain process. So Imam Muhammad, he said, this narration is given to us to teach us what scientific thinking is. So Abraham, number one, he has a question in mind. He's searching for an understanding. He wants to know a particular answer. He wants to know something. He wants to know who is God, what is God. So you start with a question, and then based upon that, he makes an observation, step one, and then he draws a conclusion based upon that observation. You can call it he hypothesizes, or he just gathers data, whatever you want to say in modern terms. He forms an observation, he draws a conclusion. But he doesn't, it's not a conclusive conclusion, meaning he doesn't stop his search there. After he forms an opinion or he forms a conclusion based upon the observation, he tests his observation, or he tests his conclusion by, in this instance, by continuing to observe. So he saw the star rise, this is my Lord. He continued to observe it. When it set, then he drew a final conclusion. I love not those that set. Then he went back to the square one to continue the process. So this is sort of this is showing us a picture of scientific reasoning. One of the things that it said in the at the beginning of the narration, though, is that it says when the night overshadowed Abraham. And specifically, the Imam, he said, what this means is that, I'm paraphrasing, he basically rid himself of all preconceived notions or judgments. And he wanted the phenomena itself to speak to his mind. Now, we'll talk about this later on. Again, we cover this in our program, the verse of light. It says that Allah talks about the niche of light in a glass, encased, etc. But when it gets to the actual description of the light, it speaks about the oil lit from a blessed olive tree, that on its own, the olive tree connected to the oil, that takes us in an entirely different, not a different, but it takes us in a very rich direction in terms of science. So I'll go back to that. Matter of fact, I should write that down, the olive. But it's oil from the olive tree. And it discusses, it says that the fire, though it is produced by the oil, it doesn't touch the oil. So again, the Imam, he said, what this is saying is that the oil is producing the fire is not influencing or touching the oil. So the fire is a sign of the rational mind, and the oil is a sign of the the source of the knowledge. I'm putting it in those terms. In the source, so in this instance, if we're observing phenomena, the intellect is not imposing itself, the mind is not imposing itself on the phenomena. The phenomena is producing what the mind has in it. The rational thoughts are being produced by its observation of the phenomena. In other words, he says, so this is really a sign of empiricism, empirical knowledge, that our intellect is to be produced by what we observe. We are not to impose our own thoughts on what we observe. What we observe imposes itself upon our thoughts. That's another
point. To that point, real quick, brother man, is that how we are to understand how the prophet received revelation? That it wasn't his mind that was influencing the message. The message would influence him.
Exactly. So again, Imam al-Ghazali wrote a book on the niche of light. He wrote a book on this verse, but Imam talked about this in the class when he addressed it to us. He said, but he mentioned them by name, but that's the one who wrote the book. They only talk about it as a sign for spiritual sciences. For the spiritual sciences, yes, you can see very clearly how it relates to the prophet. The niche is the heart of the prophet that the book came down. And the heart, again, the oil really represents the essence. So it's not just the phenomena, it's the very essence of what that phenomena is communicating. In the case of the Quran, it's the essence of the Quran, and it's illuminating the prophets. It's illuminating, the intellect of the prophet. But the prophet himself, again, he guides, he's the guide, he's the mercy to all the worlds. So spiritual sciences and rational sciences. So just like you said, Dean, Imam, the prophet emptied himself out completely as a human, and God revealed. That's the sign of the spiritual life. So all of this language about the purification of the heart, etc., that's what it's referring to. But just as it's valid for the spiritual side, and we hear a lot of teachers in Islam as of late, especially in America, talk about the purification of the soul, etc. And the gift of that is God gives you openings and flashes, etc. We accept that. On the other hand, also this same process is true for the rational side, that you empty your mind out and you just give yourself to the observance and you record what you observe. You question or you test what you observe. You move down the path of arriving at conclusions. There's several other things given in the Quran. Well, I'm going to put this in a book. I have the name of it, but all of this comes from the Imam, and of course, we just write to kind of extend on it, to extend on it in a way. In other words, you kind of give examples and make it clear. Imam Shuaib actually has this in his book. I forget the name of the book, but Imam Pleman, he was using it at the school here when Imam Muhammad said, when we look at the verse where Allah says, highly glorified is your Lord who create the Most High. الَّذِي خَلَقَ فَسَوَّى وَالَّذِي قَدَّرَ فَهَدَى. So these four. And you all who have heard Imam Muhammad a lot, you've heard him refer to these four. خَلَقَ سَوَّى قَدَّرَ هَدَى. The khalaqa refers to the khalq, what we would call the actual form of a thing. Everything that God created, he created it according to a certain form. So my hand, it's a form. It's structured in a particular kind of way, and it performs. It has a certain function based upon its structure. The sawa is the relationship of this form to other forms. So my hand can interlock with this hand. It can grasp things. Or if you even want to break it down, my thumb is an individual form and it has a relation to the other forms. And then qaddara is the process of growth from simplicity to complexity that really is born out of the relationship of the form to other forms. And then hada is the overall purpose of that thing in the plan of God. Now, when we really examine these four notions, it's extremely it's very philosophical, but it provides a solid framework for investigation. For example, in Western science, they have a concept called systems theory. In other words, that everything in the universe is essentially composed in a systemic way. atoms are composed of subatomic particles. Atomic atoms, so subatomic particles will produce atoms. Atoms will in turn become like molecules. For living things, those molecules will become tissue. Tissue will become organs. The organs will become organisms. So the more these things the more these things group together, then there's a graduation of systemic complexity. That's the exact same thing that we mean when we say sawa, that everything is interrelated, interconnected, and based upon that interconnection or interrelation, they form systems. The solar system, I don't care if it's the environment that we live in, our body has different systems. The endocrine system, the whatever system, for the breathing, what they call respiratory system, but it all comes together to make the human body. But then I live in a system called the family. Then we live in a neighborhood. So that's a social system. You have all of these different overlaps of system upon system upon system. This is all contained in sawa. And each level or degree in the system, so by the grouping together, the interconnectedness, it brings about the evolution of the very matter itself. The matter itself is evolving based upon the connectedness. So this is qaddara. And at every degree of growth, a new form is brought about, and that new form forms new relationships that brings about new processes of growth, etc. This sawa then is really the principle that for us really captures what we say is tawheed. Tawheed. And tawheed is symbolized by the olive. That's why I said we got to go back to the light is lit from olive oil, because the olive is the principle of unity and oneness. So it's the intellect observing the phenomena, but looking at the essence or the essential properties, or looking for the essential properties or the nature of things as it observes. And that's what really gives life to the rational mind. So that's another thing, but that's a whole, that on its own is a text. But then even when we talk about how to teach, we talked about this before a little bit too. Like when Allah says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ, He taught Adam the names of everything. This is saying very clearly that the nature of man's knowledge is such that it has to be put in concept and language form. So whatever man observes, whatever he extracts, he has to put it in some type of language body to communicate. So when you study biology or chemistry or astronomy, you are not studying the phenomena in the actual, first person to second person. You are actually studying a language body developed by men who have observed the phenomena, and they've transmitted that language body to you, the student. So these are just, there's more, but as you can see, that the point that I'm trying to make is that the Quran gives us, it doesn't just direct us to the study of the world, it gives us the principles of how that govern how we observe the world, and it also gives us the principles of how to relate and communicate what we study. So that's the Quran. The Quran is the highest book on this earth. It just can't be defeated. And it's not because it makes us feel good in Ramadan, because it's a book that literally has the keys to the universe in it. Now, it's different for the Bible. That's why I say you have to kind of separate the discussion. The Quran is this way, but it's addressing and it's bringing mercy to a big problem, like we're saying now, secular society, etc. But go ahead, Imam. I'm sorry.
No, that was. I think that was
no, Marsha.
So
Marsha.
as you were talking, I probably have half a page of notes on my paper right now. But as you were talking, one of the first things that came up for me when we talk about religion and science and the separation between the two is that on a large scale, as people, we're taught to approach religion from an emotional place. Mm-hmm. Whereas that scientific piece doesn't come into it. And I think that for many people, melding the two or figuring out the puzzle then becomes too convoluted and you don't really want to touch it. And so when you talked about Abraham and his search for Allah and in the process of emptying himself out, that just sort of brought a heightened awareness for me that, you know, because many people approach religion from this emotional place, to have to go on that being emptied and go on that journey of discovery for many people is scary. And probably that is a large part of why people then still choose to make that separation. Because you said early on, you know, there was sort of this ploy to have the separation intentionally. Yeah. But for people who still make the choice to separate, it's sort of because, you know, you get to this, you sort of go on this search, you go on this search, and then you get to this point of not knowing, and now that challenges your belief. And for some people, that's really, really scary.
It is, yeah, and that's a problem. But I mean, again, I'm not just saying this, but it comes to my mind. I am putting this in another book just on Islam. Abraham, he is the one who brings us into the monotheistic concept. When we enter into Islam, we don't enter because we got the Holy Ghost or, oh, the preacher was just on fire today, I got to join. Now, people do that, but that's not really what we should do. We take Shahada, and Shahada literally means a testimony or you're witnessing something. But what most Muslims are, again, because this problem that we see in the West is crept into the Islamic thought process by other means. That actual pillar, the first pillar of Islam, ties directly into Abraham. In the Quran, in that narration that we said, the 6th surah, when he discovers when he discovers God, he says, my Lord is he who originated. I turn my face to he who, give my whole self to he who originated the heavens and the earth. Now, in another part of the Quran, he says to his people, my Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth who originated them. Originated means to bring into existence for the first time. So we have language in Islamic, really philosophy, but Islamic philosophy, like the first cause. This connects to God as creator and originator. And we talk about that too. But this verse is to be, this verse in this surah, this is the 21st surah, is to be connected to the verse in the 6th surah. And because he says in the 21st surah specifically, and ana ala dhalika min ash-shahidin, I am upon this, or I stand upon that truth as a witness, shahideen. So he says that God is the one who was the first call. He originated the heavens and the earth, and I am a witness to that. So when we take our shahada, it has direct connection to this language that he says. It's saying that you have to have knowledge on the issue in regards to God's oneness. You have to know what you are accepting as a belief. To the credit of the Islamic tradition, to the credit to some degree, I do think there's a flaw with this in the broader scope, but the scholars traditionally taught what's called Aqidah first. In other words, you had to know who is God, what can we believe about God, what we can't believe about God first. That was, if you wanted to go to Muslim school or you know, Muslim university or whatever, that's what you had to get at a foundational level, because first you had to know who you worship. It's the same logic with the Shahada. You have to know what this is about first. Then comes prayer, because now that you know who God is intelligently, now you know, now you worship, now you give the 5 prayers. Now, why is it also philosophical? Because really, though Abraham's conclusion was based upon physical observation, it's really a metaphysical or philosophical position. Shahada literally also means in the Quran the objective material world. One of the meanings when Allah says, for example, Noah of the Shahada and the Ghaib. The Ghaib is the world unseen. The Shahada is the world seen. The Ghaib is the world that you cannot perceive by your 5 senses. The Shahada is the world that you can perceive by way of your five senses. But shahada in the Quran also means evidence. It also means proof. So the way the language is used in the Quran is to say that the objective material world is the evidence. It is the proof of what? The existence of God. How do you know? What are some of the arguments from an Islamic perspective that go beyond what you can prove empirically? It has to be proved rationally. The classical, they call it the Kalam, cosmological argument. The classical structure of the argument is very simple. It says that everything that comes into existence has to have a cause for its existence. That's the first premise. The second premise is the universe came into existence. Then the conclusion, therefore, the universe had a cause. This is what Abraham discovered. And as simple as it sounds, this has been at the center of the religion and science debate. Because up until very recently, the scientific world did not admit meaning allow, into the argument, the premise, or the proposition, I should say, that the universe had a beginning. That just became accepted very recently. And you still have scientists who are trying to fight it. When you all hear about the multiverse and all of these things, and like their modern day authors, what's his name? You can find
the string theory.
String theory. There's a guy, he wrote, I forget his name, but you still have a lot of writers who are atheists. Modern day, I mean, they're theoretical physicists, etc. They're still trying to say in some way, shape, or form that it's provable that the universe can come from nothing. But all of the evidence suggests that that the universe didn't come from nothing. But all of the evidence says that it does, that it came from nothing. So cosmology and physics and cosmology, it has to meet a metaphysical door, meaning that you have to, at some point, when you talk about the beginning of the material world, then it takes you naturally to what was before the material world, which is the non-material. So it has to get you to the physics, to the metaphysics. And the evidence simply says that the universe was brought into existence. If we accept the Big Bang, for example. If we accept the Big Bang based upon the evidence that's apparent, then what it says is that the universe had a beginning. The natural question is, what preceded that? Most people kind of don't understand that the universe is time itself. Time, space, matter, and energy. In other words, it is saying that what it's literally saying is that time had a beginning. There was something in existence prior to time. We can't even conceive what that means. So there's some good books put on about it. One of the most forceful theologians is William Lane, Professor William Lane Craig. He actually has taken the Kalam. This argument was developed by Muslims based upon what's in the Quran. He's developed it along modern lines. So he's using a lot of a lot of discoveries in mathematics. For instance, how there can't be anything like an actual infinite. There can only be a conceptual infinite. Actual infinite means like a real thing. There's no such thing as a real thing that's infinite. So it gets a little advanced, but it's basic stuff. It's just language. All you have to do is learn the language. And so he's a good writer on it. And then Zaytuna just published a book. What's it called? An Introduction to Islamic Theology. The first part, the actual translation part, is just basic theology, but he has a good appendix where he discusses the Kalam cosmological argument and other issues in regards to he employs what we have of modern science and knowledge to support our belief that the universe had a beginning. How do we bring that back? I guess we can tie this question into where I was going to
take where you're showing us, bringing it back to our environment here. I don't know if it's not going to hold. I'll read it from the thing. It says, the problem with today's society is that humanity is selective in what they will believe. Science has replaced religion today. If you are a so-called conservative, you do not believe in earth science, so global warming is not real to you. And if you are so-called liberal, you do not believe in biology and gender does not exist for you.
That's right.
Science itself has been bastardized to the point to where each individual chooses what they want to believe based on their political leanings or life choices, and that is the basis of scientific proof. However, if you believe in God's word, you're considered irrational.
Correct. I mean, she hit it spot on, spot on. And the reason why what she said is so potent is because the world is not. I mean, I really, we really want to stress this. This world is not really. It's not really real. It's literally a construct that's put before. This is what's given in the Quran. The Satan decorated the whole world as a deception. So even the scientific world. I mean, it has its tools, but a lot of things in it are guesswork. But what the sister is pointing to is really highlighting a bigger issue. It has more to do with power and control than it does the search for truth. That's why you have all of these, what she's pointing out, inconsistencies. And inconsistencies and contradictions is woven into the very fabric of the culture, and how people think, from their political views to their social views to their views on the world. So all of this is predicted, though, to have to come about. Is predicted in Scripture, and the best thing that we can do today, though it's hard, it's the hardest, but it's the best thing we can do. We really have to see ourselves as people who have been blessed by God to be free from this world, and consequently given an obligation to, like Noah, they had to repopulate the earth after the flood. That's what that's the page we really have to be on. We don't have to store up canned food or nothing like that in our basement, but we, in our thinking and in our language, this is how we have to see it. This is how we have to understand it. Where we are.
And it just makes me think how, people love to gravitate to things that just fit into their box, right? And so, when the sister wrote the comment that she just wrote, it just makes me think of that. Like, if it doesn't fit in my box, then we can't use it.
That's
and
right.
it takes me back to the fact that we have this separation between religion and science.
Right.
It's actually one and the same, but it's like, well, if that thought doesn't really, sit with something that I'm comfortable with,
That's
or
correct.
it's gonna move me to have to change or adjust,
right,
I don't want nothing to do with it.
That's right. And so this again, it goes back to Satan, his desire to have dominance. But the only way he can have dominance is to take God's authority out of the world. But what is the result of the removal of God's authority out of the world? Then it's man's authority. And this is what this thought process of, basically I pick and choose what I want. That's what it literally, do not go near this tree. Your freedom of thought does not allow for you to choose your own moral life, or decide what you want to be your own moral constraints. You have to accept truth as it is. So this is the scheme of Satan. He advanced the world to this point to become secular and humanistic, so that he could now dominate. That's what it's all about. It's about dominance. That's the strategy that he sold, or that he guided, that he gave to Adam. That's the strategy that Adam is executing. And the purpose of it, Satan knows that man is going to fail. And what he hopes to do as man fails is then present himself as the savior. This is the issue We talked about this, or some of us want to clarify. We talk El Falak. He creates the problem. He makes himself the solution. This is why there's a group in religion, they don't believe in Jesus Christ. And they have in their language that they literally have it in their language that we are to be the saviors of the world. So this is they create a huge problem for man, because man can't handle this is what's known historically. When people begin to do away with religion and gender confusion, this is in scripture. It's already happened before, and it's already happened historically speaking as well. And the scholars, meaning like historians and whatnot, sociologists who study it, when societies display these characteristics, lack of trust in government, gender fluidity, the weakness of religion, traditional family structures, all of these are symptoms that the society is on the verge of collapse. What has happened, though, historically speaking, is that these have been symptoms of individual societies in separate places on the earth. The Egyptians, the Greeks, the Aztecs. What's unique about today is that these symptoms are showing up on the world scale. So the deceiver, that's what he said he was going to do. I will get all of them. I will get all of them and bring them all to collapse. Not bring the collapse about of the whole global order. Why? So that he can present himself as the savior. He can offer his strategy to the governments of the world, and they will follow his leadership, and everyone will be under their authority. That's what they are trying to do. It's not going to be done, but that's what the plan is in the scripture. So this is where we have to be.
We have another question that was submitted. A sister says, can the Imam explain the way we can use the evidentiary relationship between Islam and science to dissolve the falsehood of folk who uses a lot of words to say nothing but fluff as a distraction tactic?
Hold on. Brett, say it again.
Hold on. She says, can the Imam explain the way we can use the evident relationship between Islam and science to dissolve the falsehood of folk who uses a whole lot of words to say nothing but fluff as a distraction tactic? I guess we tie it into the topic in science, as far as there's a lot of, in academia, we tend to use a lot of big words, and sometimes people can get fancy with their words. Sometimes they can be very fluffy. You know what I'm saying? So, and they use that to, they can use that to, like we said, to distract people from the truth.
Right.
How can the Muslim? Because remember, you did mention before, in the very beginning, of how the earlier Muslims weren't necessarily following the method in the Quran. They were following more of the scientific method as the Greeks, or this is after the Prophet's passing, the Greeks, right, and those who were philosophers at the time. So I guess to tie into this question, would be, how can the Muslims get back towards the Quran to defend and to progress against the fluff?
Well, I think that what's first and foremost important for Muslims who have that concern is that the Muslims have to become connected to the language of the Quran. And then upon that basis, like yourself, a person such as yourself, the Echo Beloved, you obviously have an interest in science. So it's very imperative for persons like you. And we have persons in our community, like Dr. Marcus Lambert and others who are they're scientists. Because we don't want to get science is good on its, in and of itself. But as a human activity is subject to flaw, therefore requiring correction. And for us, we use the Quran as the filter for everything. one of the challenges, and this is just a part of our growth of Islam in America. Right now, Islamic knowledge is not strong in America. Therefore, we're not really equipped to do that sifting or sing through the big language. So a part of it is just literally it's just an education process. We have to become more educated in the language of the Quran. And it really helps if you all who are into the sciences become educated. Because the Muslim scholars in the past, they were not just, scholars of religion. They were doctors, they were astronomers, they were chemists, they literally were several things at once. And the same thing is true in the history of science in the West. Guys like Newton, they were actually churchmen. They wrote commentaries on the Bible and everything. And even here lately, you've had, lately meaning in the history of the world. The Dr. Francis Collins, who was the head of the genome, who cracked the human genome project. He wrote a book on religion, science and religion. It's called The Language of God. He's a devout Christian. So we just need that among the Muslims. The problem with a lot of the Muslims is that their equipment is just not strong enough. Because the old Islamic world, the world is just phenomenally different. The world is just phenomenally different today than it was during the time when the Muslims were thinking. So if you come with a lot of that language, you're just, and they acknowledge this in their books, the modern writers, you're just going to run into a lot of dark areas that have to be dealt with. So I think when you talk about big words and fluff, it depends. It's a case by case basis. In many instances, like Allah says, again, this is another principle that's given. Allah says, produce your proof. Very plainly, Allah says, produce your evidence. Therefore, any position that's put before you as a legitimate position, it has to be evidence for that position. And the evidence has to be legitimate evidence. It can't be evidence that you skew. It can't be evidence that you give your interpretation on, but is subject to multiple interpretations. All of these things are issues in Islamic studies, or Quran study. That's how you deal with that. And then no matter what evidence is put forward, what statement is put forward. Like, for instance, you hear a lot of evolutionary biologists who are atheists say evolution is a sort of a blind process. There can be no cause. So that just doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense from the perspective of a belief in a creator God. From the perspective of the belief in the creator God, it's just automatically assumed that nothing is a blind process. And it's impossible for you to observe it from your perspective as a creature in the world, and then assert that it may look like a blind process to you, but that doesn't mean that it is a blind process. You all get what I'm saying? So they make these assertions in such an authoritative way that it impresses. That's just psychology. When people just talk authoritatively, it just impresses upon your mind that they know what they're talking about. But that's just not true. Saying, well, where'd you get that from? Okay. Just because it appears non-logical, or it doesn't follow a process, or it doesn't follow a logic that you can describe, doesn't mean that it doesn't have a logic. It just means that you can't describe it. So a lot of it's just what they call it's just wordplay. They're just playing around with language. They're just talking.
So when I think of science, and maybe this is the case for other people too, right? You think of ecosystems, you think of medicine, you think of the weather, you think of all those kinds of things, right? And and you had just brought up the point about atheism, right? And that kind of sort of just took my thought somewhere else, because just like what you just mentioned, and I think I kind of stated this a little bit differently earlier, is that, when we get to that point of not being able to figure it out, all of a sudden it just either has, whatever you have just either doesn't exist, or, is invalidated. Right. And so now I don't believe, because I can't figure it out. And so I'd like us to have a little bit of a discussion about how, you know, as Muslims, we understand that there is this continual unfolding of information and discovery, and that we don't have it all figured out, because I think sometimes with science, we approach it from a standpoint that this is what it is, and this is constant, and this is definite, and all the other stuff that you want to conjure up, whether it's religion or whatever, you know, it's not as definite because, you know, it doesn't follow, you know, whatever concept or whatever process of discovery that, you know, is sitting here in science.
Yeah, you know, it's something similar is the case in Islamic studies. You know, you'll go to a class on fiqh, you know, the fiqh of worship, and you learn your 5 pillars, and this is how you do it. And the book is so authoritative. When you actually get in an advanced class, you see how open it is. It's the same thing in science. When books are written or positions are stated publicly, it's given in a very authoritative manner. But amongst the scientific community, it's known that so much is still open and so much is not known. So there's sort of like a public face and a private face. And I guess to some degree that has to be that way, but it should at least just be explained. Or the language should be humble to say this is the best of what we know so far, or out of all of the opinions we believe, this is the opinion that it's best to share with the public, or something like that. So I would say that for us, we have to understand that the scientific enterprise is not as solid as it's made to seem. And scientists know this, no matter what the field is. That's why, I mean, there's so much study that goes on. There's so much being published. And you know, you have negative and positive. So the fact that a lot of the ideas of theory, when you consider just the concept of theory, it really does suggest that we cannot say in conclusive terms that this is the case. What we're really saying is that the best of our evidence points in this direction. And then there are very few theories that are just absolutely accepted universally. I think evolution is pretty much accepted across the board in biology and even in some of the other sciences, because it's just been proven, and it has endured. But evolution in its, I would say, broad outlines, not evolution like what you're talking about, like, you know, when they show that picture of the monkey going up to the man, not like that, but the idea of change over time.
But even that concept, Imam Rashad, not to cut you off, I mean, that concept of the evolution of the so-called evolution of man evolving from the ape, even that concept goes back to what you were saying before about the influence of the shaitan. I mean, where in Revelation? I mean, just where in Revelation does he even state that? And then even in actual science, there is no correlation, hardly any correlation to that. You know, so I'm saying, when we talked about the akal, the brain, our intellect, our capital, Allah says, the Creator says that He has created us with a brain, with an intelligence level that's above the angels and above the animals. The angels they only have assigned tasks or assigned duties, assigned roles. The animals are only able to do what? To do what is in their nature to do. You know, so that is it. They have no freedom of choice. They don't have all of that. That's not their mode. You know, so that wasn't their mode of prayer.
But you wouldn't use that with a scientist, though.
You're gonna lose that fight. You're gonna lose that
argument. So one of the flaws, like what we can't do, and this is really a sort of a knowledge. This is like an epistemic mistake. We'll say, like, you argue with a Christian, they'll say, no, Jesus is God because he says in the Bible, da 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 da. You say, no, he don't, because it says in the Quran, da da da. Well, you all are both arguing from your sources.
Right.
You first have to have an agreed upon source. And then in that space, that's how you conduct the exchange. So you can't say the scientist is wrong because it says this in the Quran. You can say that as a believer, but you can't say that as a scientist talking to another scientist, because they're going to say, well, I don't believe that book anyway. What you call that for? So this is a part of when Allah says, invite to the ways of your Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and speak to them in terms that are best. You have to have a method. Now, Abraham did this. He crushed the idols.
Yes.
You all know, I don't want to go through all of that, but he invited them into a situation where they all could clearly see, hey, this doesn't make any sense. So that's what we have to do. Again, I don't think we should be anti-science as it stands today. I think we should be aware of everything in this world has come under the influence of Satan. A lot of literature that's popular literature that's published for the public, it is heavily influenced by political and other philosophical agendas. So research or findings are put before us because it serves a certain agenda of the atheist community or whatever, because they're in power. So I think that what Muslims have to do, as we study the Quran, publish our literature, we have to have in mind a long-term goal, short-term and long-term, that we have to build our own colleges with our own research departments, our own labs, etc. And we produce research as well.
Now we talking.
If we give our interpretive description of these same findings. And this is just, we just have to get into the competition. So I'll be honest with you, man, and this is what I really see. I mean, all of these, I end up kind of complaining and every time we get on this show or preaching a little bit, but I really do. I see this as, this is the real problem with Islam in America. Imam Muhammad, even his father, before the Islam proper, these were big picture thinkers. Economics, education, these are big things. And you don't hear that from Muslim leadership. They don't even have to be in our community. But you do want to hear, like, I would hope we have the first Islamic college in Zaytuna. I would hope that they have as a long, it could be a 100-year plan, a 200-year plan. I would hope that they would have somewhere along down the road the plans to construct an observatory, and a lab and a medical school.
That's needed. That's needed. That's
so that's
needed.
I literally have that for what we're doing. Like we that's where we want to go, and we don't have to be around to see it. We should just be working towards it. That's how we have to think, because this world, all of that other stuff, look, this world is, Adam was first. Adam was first, the man who plows the earth. So this world is ran by economic strength. And you know, you could have all the truth in the world, but if you broke, hey man, you're just gonna be a broke guy with the truth. So unless what's happening today is more akin to Yusuf, because it happened to Yusuf, but the world was so messed up they had to get him. And that's the only instance we see where, you know, someone, the powerful came and got the poor guy. Say, look, help us out of this thing. But yeah, so that's where we want to be. We have to be of a mindset of building. Imam Muhammad told us in the first Sunday, this was either 06, 05. He said, if we can't grow in business, we don't have anywhere else to go. You all see how we discuss. I was telling my wife, I said, now I wrote a curriculum for years. I have a 7-year curriculum, but teaching is not the problem. Money is the problem. Building a school, an actual structure, dorm rooms, you know what I'm saying? Just everything to accommodate. We can, everything Imam Muhammad has given us, we could have a program just based upon gathering all of the lectures, typing them up, putting them in book form year by year from 75 to 2008. That's just an effort on its own.
Let alone trust.
Yeah. Let alone studying all of that, and you can study it by subject. So everything on the African American issue, or Black psychology, African American psychology, or comparative religion, or just Jesus Christ. That's years of research. It's all there that we could do. What's needed is business. So I think that should be. I said leadership. Maybe the next time we should talk about business. Money, man, business. It's coming though. It is coming. We have people working on it, but these ideas they need to materialize in actual structures. In actual structures, we need physical space on this earth where we can express our life academically, scientifically, etc.
So as you're talking, I mean, as we're all talking, actually, like so many thoughts just keep coming to my head. And the one that just came from me was just like, religion or accepting faith, however you want to describe it, like it involves study, it involves work. And even when you look at science in general, like in the United States, right, we have all these programs now that are centered around STEM, right, or STEAM,
right.
just to emphasize our children being more in tune with science and technology and math and engineering and now the arts. But I think that in the broad scheme of things, we don't look at religion as this entity of something that we have to study, right? We leave that up to the imam and the preacher and the minister. We leave that up to them because we don't feel like, because we're not in those positions, that we have to go on this journey of discovery. And in a lot of ways we do that same thing with science, like, oh, science is hard, don't nobody want to do that. I want to do something more artsy, because that whole trying to figure things out is not really up my alley. But I feel like just in general, as human beings, like we have to start approaching what we believe from that standpoint, right? We have to go on this journey of discovery to say that we believe it. And I think you said it in our last show, that before people accept al-Islam, they really should be around the community first to really decide whether that is what you believe, and that's where you feel like, you fall in line with. And I feel like that's with any belief, like you should go through that journey of discovery. And if we can start to look at religion from that standpoint and realize that science is not this sort of separate entity, but a piece of that, then we would be in a better place.
Yeah, and I just definitely agree. One of the things, again, to quote Imam Muhammad, he was saying that because the man-made world is so dominant, like from the time you wake up and you go outside of your house and you go to work and whatever you do, you're just surrounded by man-made things, be it the buildings, the noise, and we don't even have the luxury or the pleasure of observing the night sky, which is a phenomenon that has influenced the hearts and minds of men for literally thousands of years. The night sky decked out with stars. We don't even see that anymore. He said that he really believed that that's a part of the problem with human behavior, because something that we need in our core, this is how, let's just use evolution. This is how we evolved to, there was a time when people could actually see the storm coming. You just look up and it's gray all of a sudden. You didn't see, like, clouds actually travel. Again, the night sky, I mean, it will literally bring you to tears. You just don't have that anymore. So we're kind of desensitized to things natural. And we have become products of man's world, not the products of the natural world that God has created. So what do we do? Again, to your point, Marshall, we really do. We have to. People don't understand that religion is not. It's the highest knowledge. It's not so from the Islamic perspective. It's not like the Quran science. The Quran is above it all, and so the Quran is like the sun. You all know how the sun shines light everywhere. The Quran is like universal light. So no matter what it is, your moral life, your family life, etc., the education for it is in our book. One of the big issues that we face in the Muslim world in general is that people don't know anymore. People don't know. So when, like, to our point, even before we got on, when people talk about Imam Muhammad, I know that they feel weird how we talk about him so much. I mean, I can understand it. I mean, I feel that way when I hear them talk about other people. I can't even lie. I'm like, what you talking about him that much for? And I say, oh, well, I do the same thing. But I believe that we can actually prove, based upon what we're talking about. I mean, we can actually prove why we are like this. It's just, I do believe that Imam Muhammad's commentary and his language represents so much for the future of this world in terms of its betterment. Because whatever we do as a community, we want it to benefit all human beings. We're not in any type of spirit of, religious or racial or whatever other type of dominance and superiority. Though we do believe that God's justice will put us above other people. That's another thing he told us. Imam Muhammad told us that in class directly. He said, Allah hasn't just made us to be equal with everybody else, but to be above everybody. He said, if you don't believe that, you shouldn't be here with me. This is what he told us directly. So I do believe, but it's not like to have slaves and stuff like that. It's just, if you all study our history, that's just compensation. And that's God's way in scripture. But anyway, I just really, again, I'm not, something about this conversation, I keep referencing what I'm doing, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to use this platform as a free promo situation. So you all forgive me for that. I really am. I'm really not. But that was really
it's family, man. It was family over here, man.
But God is my witness. That was a part of the reason why I started my school that I have, because I was actually, this was Ramadan. I had already wanted to do it, and I was in conversation, but I had read, this was the 04 Ramadan session. If you all read that first part after the khutbah, the beginning of the first session, Imam was speaking about how they built great universities and centers of learning in the history of Muslims, and he was saying the time is coming when we're going to do the same thing. And I had been reading, I read science, I read philosophy, I read everything, and I'm knowing from intimate experience, like, what we have is, we can join the conversation and add to it. I'm not speaking from just, was born in this community, I just love this community. I'm speaking as a student of Imam Muhammad. I took university study for the Islamic sciences. I majored in philosophy. I study science, economics. I study a lot of things, and I'm very confident in the fact that what we have from a knowledge standpoint stands up, and it has a major contribution to the world. So that's what I've set out to do. I think we just have to understand. So part of what I know is that what I'm saying right now is not known by the average member of our community. I'm talking about in a knowledge way. I think it's felt, it's believed in, but in terms of knowledge, like I believe a lot of our members, especially a lot of our imams, I think they're very intimidated. They're not. I've had enough interaction with them to kind of just see it. They don't really know what this is. They just really don't know. It's not that they're not appreciative or whatever. I don't know how to frame it, but it's like they really don't know. And that's why, again, I'm not going to beat this dead horse. I do want to have a subject where we discuss leadership. That's why the issue of leadership is so important. Because what ends up happening is that when you don't know what you have, obviously you're not getting the benefit of it because you don't know what it is. That is really what sets the stage for anybody to come in and say, hey, let me take you in this direction, or let me take you in that direction. But no one can come to me, and it's not just me. You go, okay, I'm sure you can call Sister Khadija Siddiq Muhammad, Imam Ronald, some people who have had these intimate, no one can come along and say, hey, I'm the leader. It just doesn't, it's no way. It's no way, because there's just some of us have just been situated to have a certain degree of access. And then based upon that, if we were sincere and studied, and we've experienced God's personal help in opening things up, everyone didn't have that. So what we really should be trying to do at this stage is get other people to have that. My wife is in Sister Khadijah's master's program, and from what I can gather, it's really not. I can see how she's trying to just get people to hear what the Imam had to say and digest it. Because whatever you are, if you're an artist, if you're a scientist, it will feed you. And when you have, and I think that's what really hasn't happened in our community nationally. And because that hasn't happened, that's why we're weak. And because we're weak, people can kind of observe us from the outside and say, okay, they're weak. You know, this single mother or this single woman needs a husband. Let me slide in and say, hey, girl, I'll pay all your bills. And so that's what I see. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So part of our work is to make sure that all of us have a strong foundation. It's one thing to have transcripts. Everybody can get a transcript, but understanding it and studying it and just having a situation where understanding can be facilitated is needed. And the more that happens, I mean, we're going to be a very productive, strong, and beautiful community in the future. I have no doubt about that at all. So, you know, I'm up all the time. This all I talk about. My wife be wanting to talk about the kids. I'll be like, I'm sorry, man. I don't even want.
You can't forget about. You can't forget about the kids, man. You can't forget about the kids, man. Can't forget about the kids.
I know, man. I got to work on it, brother. I mean, I play with them, but
you better talk about some other stuff to your wife,
right.
man.
You know, I just so it's but this is I'm fired up, and I know that I know where we're going as a group, and I know the beauty of the group. I don't even think I know it completely, but I know it enough to just be fired up all the time. So yeah. So this is a part of it. Islam and science. This is another issue that I believe Allah has blessed us with the understanding because of our leader to have the proper tools to address for the benefit of all human beings.
Excellent. Before we land this master trip we've been on, this journey.
Oh, is this the mothership?
It might be the mothership. we have to touch. I know we've been talking of religion and science. We have to address, maybe just touch on it. COVID-19 and what is the duty? What is the duty of us who have this knowledge and this insight, right? Because there's a lot of things going on now. People talking about, like you mentioned, you alluded to it earlier. Well, I took it as alluded to earlier when you said about creating a problem and then acting like the savior with the solution with the vaccine. Yeah. And all that stuff. But then there's a issue around schooling and the children, vaccination, and people using religious as a reason not to get vaccinated. And then there's a whole nother group of people who are saying that the government is behind religious leaders because they're going to promote getting the vaccine. Like, it's all these different, sidebars and stuff. So we could just touch. I know we might have that much time left, but we could just touch on it and give us some insight.
So you're saying what we should do?
Like, how should we kind of frame a position we should take, right? Because some people try to stay out of it. I mean, for the most part, I've been staying out of it because I've seen some things before all of it became mainstream. Yeah. And so it's like people knew what was going on before it happened, and then it's like people what is happening it's just so many levels to it.
So look, brother, my position is this: in terms of trying to. And, we can give a lot of interpretations on like the COVID phenomena, what it means. And I've talked about it in Atlanta. I've heard some other people in our community talk about it. Even some like, I think his name is Tim Winter, Dr. Tim Winter, or Hakeem Winter. He did a good presentation on it. That stuff, that's one thing. Here's what we should really be doing. This is for real. Okay. I remember, again, we were in class and this was during Katrina. Y'all remember Katrina? Mm-hmm. And Imam was like, look, it's sad, but some of you all should go down there with some of these products, these CPC products, see if you can sell it to them. So that struck me at the time. And then later on, he talked about Hajj. He said, you all going to Hajj every year. You're only supposed to go once. He said, now, if you keep going, you need to bring some products there or bring some back so you can sell. Why would Allah have all of the Muslim world come together, that type of exchange, and not have any economic interest? So, like this platform here, I would really see how people don't want to bring their kids to school anymore. I would, if I were you all, I would really try to. I'm working on something, but I can't do it all. I don't mind sharing this. And a lot of time in business, you don't share your ideas. I would come up. You all could come up with a school platform. It could be an alternative model, like there, especially for Black people. There are a lot of things that African Americans need that we don't even get in a regular school, like credit. What is credit? How to develop a product, family life. I would come up with an education platform. That's what I've been looking at. That's an idea. Hosting. I mean, you already do. You all host different people. But I'm talking about it as a business. I'm not forget all. I mean, free. No, man, we can't build the future off being free.
No, this is what I tell. That's what I tell Dean all the time, man.
No, man, you can't. Look,
you can't, man. The brothers and sisters would take advantage of you, man. That's what I'm saying. They'll take advantage of you real quick,
bro.
man.
Look,
real quick.
I had Imam Muhammad. I had a friend. He said he met with him. He said the last time I met with him, Imam Muhammad just kept saying, "Look, man, we need money. We need money." And what's wrong? We have a bad perception of money. I think we need to change it. So, like, they criticize me for charging, some of them, but it's like they don't understand money and they don't understand work and productivity. What I would do, for instance, let's say if I was one of these guys that uploaded videos of Imam Muhammad, why don't you start a website where you all can do this too, where you upload videos, not just because if you notice, like the brother who does it, he doesn't really do it that much. I don't know, because he probably spent all his time working for the white man. I would charge. I would have a website.
Oh man, take it easy, man. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Listen to me. Hear me out from A to Z. I'm not attacking anybody. Look, I'm not attacking anybody. But this is what we do. How are we going to build New Africa and we still working for the white man? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
We can't build New Africa on the weekend.
Well, it's a process. It's a process. It's a Listen, no. Listen to me. Listen. Wait.
Because some
people, I understand what his point is, but
let me just say this: some people do hide behind, like you said. You were just saying, Bilal, it's a process. I
didn't even finish. So you cut off my process.
I'm gonna let you finish. But just the point of saying it's a process. Some people do hide behind saying that.
That's right.
But that's not everybody. But that's not everybody, though.
A brother told us a long time ago that the man who got you to work is not going to allow you to get off to establish your independence. So you definitely have to break free.
When you want,
you break free, but hold on.
I just want to answer this question, and we can remember now. But to your point, remember on the great debaters, the sheep when they did that one debate, she said the time for freedom, the time for justice, and such stuff is always right now.
Yes, right. Absolutely.
Now, how do you do that? Now, I'm just giving you this as an idea. Because we got several people who upload stuff on the internet.
Sure.
I would put together a quality website. And I would charge $10 a month. Because there's hundreds of lectures that can be uploaded. So they're not even uploading them. And I'm imagining because they got other responsibilities. But if you charge $10 a month and you make it a goal to get 1,000 subscribers, now your time is freed up to upload more videos. Now, if you have a qualm with it, taking that money, give it to Imam Muhammad's family, give it to the mosque cares, but free yourself up to become productive for the cause is the point.
Of course. Yes, I agree.
So now, after you upload those hundreds of lectures, because you go on, you say, Dad, these brothers ain't loaded nothing up in months. I mean, if you're going to do it, be good at it. Now, after you've loaded those up, now you say, well, look, I don't have no more to load up. Put them in transcription form. Make that your new project and then charge for that. Again, if you don't want to have no money, you feel some type of way in terms of the religious, I shouldn't charge, donate it to some cause. Give it to Imam Muhammad's family, give it to the mosque, but be productive. We cannot. I'm speaking from experience now. I used to do all of those things. I had it in my mind that I'm going to work I started businesses, and I figured I'll save enough money to be free to do the work. Allah blessed me and said that it doesn't work that way. You have to do the work, and by doing the work, you can do more of the work. That's how it goes. So all of us, we're at different places, but we have to make it our intention to free ourselves up to be productive. Again, we cannot build New Africa on the weekends or on our days off or during our lunch break. We have to literally, and Imam Muhammad said that in the 70s. One of the brothers that I mentioned at the beginning of the program, they do 300 million a year. He said in 75, 76, when Imam first came in office, Imam Muhammad said, you all have to have the boldness to not pay your rent and tell your landlord, I can't pay my rent this month, and take that money and invest it in a business. Go into business for yourself. Until we have that type of boldness, and we got to stop this, give me the Muslim discount. Oh, we got True. I want my $3 True, because pay full price, pay your Muslim brother, because that's how we create an economy. I told Sharif, I said, man, you one of the most, I enjoy when you pay me for class the most. Why? Because I'm turning right around. I'm buying toothbrushes. We're creating literally an economy. Until we think like that and take pride in that, we don't get it. And that's why that white man is ahead of us. That's why he's ahead of us. Imam Shuaib tells the story. He said that he was with Imam Muhammad.
Well,
and he said, Imam, I can get you into the show. The brother's playing jazz tonight for free. Imam Muhammad says, that's our problem. If it was a Jew, he'd be looking at how to put money in his brother's pocket. But you looking at how to take money out your brother. We got to change our thinking. So that's what we should be doing.
And there's a science to changing your thinking.
There you go.
It's a science. It's a science, man. It's a science to change. That's why I said it's a process. It's a science to changing even your thinking, man. You know what I'm saying? You said that the white man has. Oh, listen,
the wicked man.
Let's not even call him.
He's
right.
done.
Let's keep let's keep it funky. Let's keep it real funky. the mindset. Because we have to address the mindset, which is also a science too. Address the mindset. It's not really addressing the color or the ethnic background, because we know that there's people who have mastered a science of manipulation and subliminal seduction in order to sell a product. That's how you get this consumerism. That's how you get this TV right now we're watching. You know, they have mastered the psychology to show you an image, to sell you a product. They mastered it.
I think I don't know if we're talking about the same thing now. What I'm saying is, Dean was asking about what we should, I switched it to what we should be doing in COVID. And what I'm talking about is we should be making money.
Oh, yeah, we got this right here. Boom, in the cut.
We should be making money. Now, for people who have these type of psychological burdens, then let them be. I'm talking to people who don't right now. We don't even have, look, the situation is so dire. We ain't got time to try. What I did make a reference because people have made comments about me, and I'm saying, well, hey, I'm showing you all. I'm not interested in individuals. I'm interested in a thought process that's among us. Because my mother is a seamstress. I watched her when we was young. She would make clothes. She would sell beautiful dresses, one of a kind, and they would ask for the Muslim discount. There's
no such thing. Aki, tell them right now, there's no such thing as a Muslim discount.
Muslim hookup? We can't get the Aki hookup?
No, let's go consider that Aki hookup. I'm done. That's called being a cheap person. It's called being
more than that. But I'm going more than that. What I'm saying is that
it's a big issue.
Give our time and energy to something. And our time and our energy and our skills are valuable. And we should make money off of it. But the problem that we have with money, now this is a part of what you're talking about. We have sort of a dark space where we associate money with immorality, this deen versus dunya.
Science again. So,
but this is how you get out of it, recognizing that you have a problem, discussing it, etc. Because I think what Marsha said is correct. I counsel people, and I've counseled brothers, and the wife is saying, look, I need you to do this. And he like, well, it's a process. No, brother, you just don't want to step up. This has to happen today. Your wife is asking for this. This is what you have to do. So I'm aware of what Marsha says. Oftentimes that's a deflection mechanism. to
Y'all didn't even let me finish my point. Y'all didn't even let me finish my point.
All right. Let the ego brother finish.
That is a mechanism to run away from meeting the challenge. And for us as a community, our challenge is economic development. And in the time of COVID, we should really be looking at how to grow in business, how to grow our financial strength for the benefit of our community. That's what we should be doing. That's what I think our response should be. There you go. No community is taking a discount.
And I only said what I said because I see that in me. Like there's very rare occasions where I'm talking and I'm not sort of reflecting internally to me. So I only said it because I see that in me, right? I just was having a conversation with a text. I was sending a text to someone and I was saying, I have to sit and do some strategizing because I realized that I'm not living to my full potential. So when you say things like it's a process, I'm like, yeah, I probably said that too. Like, because I just delayed whatever was supposed to be.
No, man. See, no, that's what I mean.
I'm not saying that's what you mean, Bilal. I'm saying that's
not exactly what I mean. It's a scientific approach to breaking the mold.
Okay, so share that with us, brother.
To breaking the mold.
I'm about to give him a piece of Malcolm in a minute. Hold on, Bilal. Bilal understands New York. I'm about to give him a piece of New York real quick.
All right. Put it on right now. Press play.
Oh, no, the one you gave about the education piece, right? But then
I thought you were gonna play a new clip, man.
And then we gotta tie back into religion and science.
Right.
No, but this is a science. This is science, man.
Okay. So share with us, Pico, beloved. Share with us.
This is science. It's science. Y'all laughing, but this is science.
But I'm asking you to share. But in this moment, I'm asking you to share whatever you felt like we didn't allow you to share. I'm asking you to share in this moment.
The mental blocks that people suffer. Yes, we understand that people use that as an excuse, but there's some generally people who have been hurt. Who have went through the jammer. What I'm saying? A lot of different ways, man. A lot of different ways. So personally, community-wise, whatever. So it's everybody's saying right here, making it seem like it's easy. It's a piece of cake. I can quit my 9 to 5 right now.
No, not easy.
Stop. Hold on, man. Hold on, man. Hold your thought, man. Everyone can quit working for the man. Everybody screams, quit working for the man. Black capitalism. Quit working for the man. Just quit it. I said, okay, I quit. Today I signed giving my pink letter. I signed my letter, I give my pink letter resignation. No, you give my pink letter resignation, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Then what? The sister's gonna be like, you're married. The sister's gonna be like, where the hell is the money? How are we keeping our life? So you just quit your 9 to 5, you didn't have no plan. You had no science behind what you was going to do.
No, you have to have a plan. Nobody said that, but I would never do that without a plan, ever.
Yeah. I don't know where you got that from.
Yeah, you extended that one, brother.
Down with the man, quit your job. That's just not even normal. Who does that? We're talking about saying, hey, I'm Echo Beloved. I read the weather. This is what I listen. I'm just talking about you since we talking to you. I'm just going to use you as an example. I like reading the weather, such and such, such and such. Man, if this is what I like to do and what Allah put in me to do, this is what I need to live by.
And then put the steps in place to get to that next level. Not do it without a plan. I would never. I have 3 children in my house. I'm never doing nothing like that. But if I know that I have a skill set, then behind the scenes, I'm gonna be putting the plan together to then go to that next step. So that point of quitting is not a knee-jerk reaction. It's what's been happening underground for some time. But I can't say it's a process and then I'm not doing that underground work.
And what people have to understand, and I mean, again, this is necessary, though this is not religion and science. It's necessary.
Can you stop saying it's not religion and science? It's science.
Everything that Allah has blessed you with as a person, this is what I would tell any individual. Everything Allah has blessed you with is your unique gift. That's what you're meant to. That's what you're supposed to be doing. I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker, but it's just that real. That's what you were created to do. And what you're actually doing, you're disrespecting God. God made you a phenomenal artist. You can draw. This is what you can do. You can paint. You can sing. You can play an instrument. You have managerial skills. You're charismatic. You're funny. Whatever God gave you as a gift, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And that doesn't mean it's going to be everybody's meant to be a millionaire. I'm not even talking about that, but I'm talking about everyone. There's enough for every person to get his share of this earth and be comfortable and live a happy life, fulfilling what God has put in them as a person. Everyone is not meant to be the same thing, but everybody's meant to be something. And what I'm saying is that in order for us to have New Africa, we need more individual persons with the boldness to invest in themselves. And it is a process, but the process has to follow. Part of the process is just getting out and doing it. And you won't know until you actually do it. So that's where I am. And again, I'm taking this back to Mujahideen's point. Again, for instance, to use Imam Mujahideen, like that again, I was impressed. I didn't know you had that story in your history with the bean pie. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. Now, if you say, now look, I don't want any other income but the bean pie today. Now that's different. We may say, wait on me, Mujahideen. Let the bean pies take off first. Then you do that.
Been there, done that.
But the fact that you're doing it, that's what we're talking about. That's how we built this community. That's the only way. That's the only way. Give me another way.
Bilal's a New Yorker, so I found the clip. So we're going to play this 2-minute clip so Bilal can understand from the New Yorker point of view.
If white immigrants can come to this country 50 years ago with nickels and dimes and no education, and come here and pool their little nickels and dimes and no education, and set up little stores, develop these stores into larger stores, develop this into an industry which creates job opportunities for whites. Since Lincoln was supposed to have freed the black man 100 years ago, and today the black man, according to the government economist, has spending power of $20 billion per year. We feel that with the black man spending $20 billion a year, not setting up any businesses, not creating any industry, not creating any job opportunities for his own kind, he's not in a moral position to point the finger today at the white man and tell the white man that he's discriminating against him for not giving him a job in factories that he himself set up. If the black man has $20 billion, and these so-called Negro leaders are such geniuses that they can integrate white restaurants and integrate white factories and force themselves into that which the white man has set up, they should use this same ingenuity to show the black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own. And then we won't have to force our way into his anymore. One more thing I would like to point out concerning what he said about 125th Street. We don't waste our time on 125th Street, but you can reach more people in the street who want to change than you can in the bourgeoisie society, the bourgeoisie church, and the bourgeoisie circles. Our program is directed toward the man in the street. So we spend our time in the street, and what we do with that man, instead of trying to change the white man in your mind and make you accept us, we change the mind of the black man and make him accept himself. And as soon as he accepts himself, he'll solve his own problem. He won't be trying to force himself into your factory and into your bedroom and into your kitchen.
Good job. Imam, give me that. That's right.
This discussion was great, though. Now, we sort of took a turn at the end, but that was okay because I feel like it was much needed. But alhamdulillah for the discussion on science and religion. Just to reiterate, they're not separate from each other, and so we start taking a more conscious approach to both, to science and religion, but especially when we're looking at science and the world around us. If you can't, as we were talking earlier, one of the things I was thinking about was, if you can look at the natural world around you, and as you're looking at the natural world around you, you don't then connect back to Allah, to God, then you may have to sit and question yourself, right? Because if your belief, if in your belief system you're saying that what I believe in, Allah, God, is the creator of everything, then you can't then start separating things out. And so maybe you then have to start doing some
That's right.
searching within yourself to figure out what is it that you really believe in, and how are you applying that belief in your life.
Absolutely. I agree. I think this was a beautiful conversation, beautiful exchange as always. We touched on a lot of topics. Obviously, this theme is very big. It's very huge. It does require its own series. It does require its own series of to expound and to really dive deep into it. But tonight, I hope that everyone was able to get something out of it. Hopefully that you can get something out of it and bring it into yourself, your house within yourself, and in your house with your children, your family, because these are necessary topics, the necessary themes that will come up in your daily life, that will come up dealing and raising your children and etc. But I do want to say that these conversations about science is very important to us as Muslims, and to just any believing human being. We all are believers. So I'm saying, regardless of whatever scripture that you identify with. So I'm saying, we know that science plays a role in our way of life. So I'm saying, and the miracles that Allah has the Creator that has shown us through our own bodies. Our own human bodies, which we still don't know all the ins and outs. We're just getting to know the ins and outs of our bodies, and we're just getting to know the space. And we still don't know. We might know like 1%, if that, about space. I'm talking about knowledge-wise. There's so much about these various topics that we don't know about. So, and I just want to leave people with that, knowing that the Creator is in charge of everything. And Imam, when you mentioned about the systems or the systems, it drew me back to the systems of knowledge, of why we say the systems of knowledge, why we translate, why the Imam told us to translate a Lord of all systems of knowledge, because it is. It really is. We just really went from all these different ecosystems that is out in creation, and there is a force controlling all of that. Allah is controlling all of that at the same time. So we're saying at the same time, and we can't create ourselves. We don't come in this earth by ourselves, as I always tell people. We don't. It takes two to tango, so we don't come to earth by ourselves, man. What I'm saying. So we have to get this out of our heads that I created myself, or I. That goes back to what we just said about the community. About this, it's a science. Even when we talk about the community, when we were shown about the story and the narration of the bees, the narration of the ants, that's a community. Those are communities, man. How do they operate? What do they do in their community? Those are signs for us to see and look. And the Imam Muhammad described us as what? We should be like the bees. We should be workers. We should be constantly working. Say not sleeping. You don't want to be a dead hive now. And not produce. We gotta be producing the honey, man. Otherwise, you ain't no good, man. So that's all I have to say.
Alhamdulillah. So it's my I enjoy myself. Alhamdulillah. I'm always happy to be here. We ended off on a good note. I like that.
No, definitely.
I have this picture. Let me see. I know this is backwards. You all see this picture?
Yeah.
Ahmed Bree gave me that picture, and I always look at it. It's an inspiring picture. the picture of, I don't know if you can, it's the,
bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Yeah.
My light is kind of off.
No, bring it. Yeah, there we go. Not too close, not too close. There we go. There, perfect. Right there. Leave it right there.
So as you know, this connects to the image that was put on the Muhammad Speaks newspaper.
Correct.
Overseas.
Correct.
But how I internalize this picture, you have the religious man and you have the industrial man. And those two interests, I mean, again, those are our two most important interests right now. Economic development, and then of course religion. But for us, our religion is knowledge. It's serious knowledge. And most people, established people, they make their way in the world by way of those two. There's a narration from Jewish tradition where one lady, I think it was Rachel, she had two sons, and one son was very good in Torah study, and the other son was very good in business. And they made an agreement that the one who was good in Torah study, he would teach the business person, and the business person would use some of the Torah studies, got his money, and he would invest and help expand his money. So basically they use their respective skill sets to help one another. And I see that as that language is a language of strategy. That's how you really progress in a society. You have to have those two interests working together. But every one of us can't do business. Every one of us can't devote ourselves to study, but in our respective areas, we can cross-pollinate and feed one another. So if I give a businessman in our community $10,000, $20,000, and he puts it in his effort, he knows how to make that into $500,000. And I should be given, he should trust me with his children or with his wife or himself to share with him knowledge. And when we think like that and we plan like that, that's how we're going to grow. So, I don't know what other topics we have. Like I said, I mentioned leadership. I do want to talk about economic growth. There's just so much to be done. But inshallah.
Yeah, we ran out. Dean, we want to get your last comments, but we did use all the topics on the Wheel of Faith. So we will, inshallah. Actually, just a brief announcement. On December 31st, the Muslims, our New Year has already passed on the lunar calendar. According to the Gregorian calendar, New Year's Eve is December 31st, January 1st or whatever. But we will be having a special program back here on December 31st from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And we invite all of our guests that we have had on this platform to return with us for a brief period of time, 10 minutes each for each guest or so, and really share about, their growth and development over the year. What did they expect? What did they anticipate for 2021? And I think that would be a good time between then and now to prepare for our 2021 as the continuation of this segment here. Now you all see it's growing. We appreciate you all for tuning in as always. But we will be inviting you all to come back with us on December 31st. That evening to spend some time with us, and then leads into the Study Al-Islam program later that night, that will take place at 10 o'clock. So as we get off air, they will have some Quran reading and some reflections and different things of that sort. So we want to kick off the year right. This is how we do kick off the year right, and we want our guests to, again, you're all family, so we're saying to come and greet us and spend some time with us on December 31st. But Dean, your last closing remark before we run down any last minute announcements. Also, Sister Marsha will be coming with her new segment in January 2021. Get ready. That's gonna be off the charts, man.
Pray for me, y'all.
Dean,
I'm gonna be nervous.
Dean, what's up?
Nothing much. End of the show remarks. I had a few comments I was going to add in conjunction to what the Imam has said, but we pretty much covered a lot. So I won't really go into that. I will just share one of the things that came up in Imam's comments. Collective economics.
Oh, this is my man. Hold on. This is my man. Tariq Touré is one of our blessed poet, young brother, one of our poet laureates in our community. In fact, he's up for an award for this book.
It's a great book. Awesome.
Yes, it's a great book. I have it. illustrated by one of our beloved sisters, who's a great illustrator, Sister Anika Sabri. Again, her mother passed away.
Yeah.
That's the one that I was referring to earlier. So please keep her family in dua and prayer. But this book right here, great book, and this is
my daughter and I read it the other night. So it's a really good book. Really,
yes, it's very good book, a very good book, and it's a great, beautiful illustrations as you see on just by the cover page. It's a beautiful illustration, no doubt. Well, let's get some. Come on.
Man,
of course,
this is coming up.
Oh, Imam is coming at the Midwest Leadership Cultural Team presents Directing Productive Dynamics in the Cultural Climate. Webinar hosts are dear classmate Adria Shahid and Judge David Shahid, Honorable Judge David Shahid. Thursday, December 24th, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. There's a Zoom information featuring our beloved, the one and only Kachabi Abdullah, and our guest speaker.
Yes, it's been all in the comments tonight.
Yeah, we love our brother Kachabi. Yeah, you know what I mean. So we're gonna be in there tuned in as well, and hopefully we can stream that too to this platform. And also, we can't forget. Come on, man. Come on, stop playing with me, man. Okay, for anyone, we do course development. Development. We have a platform upon which we have a website that we will host your course. Any course that you would like, economics, business, anything related to the things that we touch upon on this platform. If you have something of the sort, please message us as soon as possible. We're wanting to build this platform to host your courses. Of course, this is a business, like the Imam said, and there is a percentage that we will be asking from you guys, who are the course instructors, to cut us a check. As I'm saying, because this is work behind the scenes. We set up the studio for you. We set up the platform for you. We can help market for you as well, your course, if you need help marketing as well, utilizing this platform as one of the tools. But we really want to get people on the course development scene. We know a lot of people, including Imam Rashad and others, have courses that they would like to teach. We are offering this service to you all as well. So please, if you're interested, message us, let us know, and we could take it one step at a time. Also, we have the Prosperity Marketplace Exchange, and that we do every Friday, a showcase. I know this Friday we missed it. We didn't have a showcase this Friday. But anyone who has a business, a product, or a service that wants to come on and spend a few minutes with us on Fridays after post our Muslim prayer service on Friday, post Jummah, so I'm saying, because we believe that we just don't sit up in the mosque and pray all day. We have to go back and seek the Prophet. And like the Imam said, we have to come back and seek the prophets. So please stop by. In fact, let's get the link. What's the link at, man? Come on, help me out. Pull up the link, man. Come on, man. Help me out.
I'm on a new computer though, so it might not
help me out. Anyway, Prosperity Marketplace Exchange. Find it on Facebook. Again, is with an X. And DM us here. You can message us here. We can get your product on the Prosperity Marketplace Exchange platform. Of course, the patron. Remember the Imam said we have to get paid? We have to get paid. So we have to get paid to continue to develop this platform. Daily digital content. You heard I'm coming with a segment. You heard Marshall's coming with a segment. Imam, this is his segment, obviously, but other people want to have segments. If you want to have a segment, the sky is the limit with this platform online. But anyway, patreon.com/NFX Daily to come on one of those tiers. We have several tiers that you get some perks or some incentives come with those tiers. So please give what you can to that effort. We have We Buy Black. Can't forget our brother Sharif Abdul Malik on Instagram, We Buy Black, Facebook, We Buy Black, and WeBuyBlack.com for all your products, including those that you see right there. The True detergent, the light bulbs, the Core oral toothbrushes, the shampoo and conditioner, the beard oil if you need the brothers who need something for your beard. You got all that and more on that website. Can't forget my good folks at New Freedom Pie. The good folks, the good brothers and sisters at New Freedom Pie. We have the New Freedom Pie kit. $15 for the New Freedom Pie kit. You can make it yourself at your home. Due to COVID, things had to adjust. So they have allowed for you to make the product at your home. Basically, that's what it looks like real quickly. You'll get something like this in the mail. The right hand side is the mix, already mixed for you. That is the graham cracker crust that you will put the mix into. You pour it in, and then you stick it in the oven. The instructions for how to preheat your oven is in the packaging as well. And this how it should look when it comes out the oven, man. Nice and nice color, nice texture. Okay. Also, can't forget your sea moss. We have purple sea moss, rich in iron, said to be rich in iron, very high in iron, and other nutrients and vitamins that we need. We have that for you. And we can post a link. The engineer, Dean, there you go. Very good. CMOS, tinyurl.com/organic CMOS on MPX. That is important because this is coming from our brother in Tanzania and Zanzibar from our community. He has had us on some products, so we are distributing those products here in the States. And this is 100% wild crafted meaning that is harvested and is native to that area and is natively harvested in that area to be sold either on the market, etc. And this is what it looks like in the farm, the CMOS. This is CMOS farm. As you see the stakes there and different things like that. So yes. And what am I forgetting? Am I forgetting anything before we go by? Well, hold on, Aki, come on, man. This is coming up too, man. Unified E Committee. This is Sister Marsha, our beautiful Jamaat.
Yes. So we have a breakfast coming up next Sunday at Applebee's. So you can get your tickets for $10. It'll be a grab and go. So basically what you'll do is, and we've done this a few times and it's worked beautifully. You'll just come up, you'll drive up with your car and we'll, have how many breakfasts you paid for, you'll receive it and you'll drive off and we'll just keep going until we're done. It's from 8 to 10 because after that, then the actual restaurant opens up. But you're able to do the fundraiser between 8 and 10, and the proceeds go to preparing for our Eid celebrations when the time comes.
Alhamdulillah. And also, it would be remiss. Also, make it halal NFX. How could I forget? If you have a product.
I was on mute. I was trying to remind you. I said, what happened to Nadia? But I was on mute.
Yeah, man. Our good sister Nadia, who's an herbalist, natural herbalist down in Maryland, the DMV area. She has a whole kit for if you have COVID-like symptoms. She has a COVID kit for you that consists of herbal remedies if you have symptoms of COVID. She has a website as well. But this particular link will take you to, if you have a product and you'd like to get halal certified with a stamp, halal certified stamp approval, and go through the courses that she has, Islamic science courses, and making sure that you can what not to include or what not to include in your product, etc. And also getting the seal of approval through her services. Please check it out. It's a very extensive course. It's a very good course. We had a chance to look at the courses ourselves on the back end, and it's really good. It's really thorough. You get certified here in the States, but you also get certified in the $1 billion international halal market that everyone else seems to be tapping into, but the Muslim, and particularly the Afro-American Muslim, we need to tap into the halal market, man. There's so much money to be made on this market, man. It's unbelievable, man. You'd be surprised. Some of the people that, remember Rashad talked about the wicked guys are even in the halal market. You better believe it. Some of the wicked, they're even in the halal market. So come on, if they can get a piece of the pie, which they're doing, we should be owning this pie. This is our pot now, so we should own that. Okay. What else am I forgetting? Oh, lastly, another remiss, Sister Misunderstood, one of our artists, who's been in the community for a long time. She has a new song out called "As Real as They Come." It's on YouTube. Please check it out, but also purchase it. The song, please purchase it on Bandcamp. Go listen to the song. You got to listen to it before you purchase it, and send her any donation that you can. If it's $1, $5, $10. Artists are starving now because, well, a lot of, especially our independent artists, can't speak for the industry artists because they already got their money, or at least they think they do. So please support her. Yes, I'm saying check her out. And also, can we bring up my man Wallace, my man Antoine Wallace, who graduated with me, Just Cause Foundation. They're doing a coat drive and winter gear collection and distribution in New York City, Philadelphia, and LA, Cali. Can you bring that up, engineer, real quick, so we can show the people real quick before we leave that flyer? I don't have the flyer with me. If we could bring up the website real quick before we sign off, that would be good.
You're on mute, Dean.
It's not letting me pull up on this computer.
All right. So anyway, we'll post the flyer up to our pages. I just want to make sure we give him a shout out because he's one of our good brothers who's came on this platform and expressed, his story. His story is very unique, and he's doing what he can to produce, to help in the community as far as giving back in philanthropic giving, which is key and crucial. But that's all the announcements that I have, unless anyone else has any more, but I don't have any more right now.
There's a couple in the chat. We have the Unity Halal Beef.
Well, like the sister said, Unity Halal Beef. It's not that there's no shades. Unity Meat Market. We love Unity Meat Market in Newark, New Jersey. Actually, we're going to be plugging in Sister Nadia with the brothers out there in Newark, New Jersey. Stand by.
You got Young Ibn in the building trying to bring him on. He got the Pyramid Punch drinks. Shout out to Young Ibn.
What's up, Young Ibn? Assalamu alaikum, Young Ibn. Beloved, please email us or drop your email in the comments, man. He said he got the punch, man. We need the punch.
He got the Pyramid Punch, all right.
We need the punch for New Year's Eve for our celebration.
You want to pop the punch?
Yeah, pop the punch, man. So come send us a couple bottles, man. So I'm saying, I mean, well, you gotta do halal style. Is that the only way to turn up the halal style?
We gotta get this the Sorrel, the sister from New York. They got this.
The sister from Brooklyn. Yes, we got the Sorrel from the Caribbean, man. Halal Sorrel, please.
All right, that's a wrap. I do got one picture of nature. Imam Rashad always gave us pictures of nature in class. Somebody posted this earlier. This is a place in Iceland where the green fields, the yellow river, and the black beach and the blue sea meet.
Wow.
All in one, and they don't interconnect, and that's also
awesome.
Revelation.
But Allah talks about that in the Quran. What surah is that in ayat again?
Absolutely. But not the cross of the salt water and the fresh water.
Okay, never mind. Yeah. That's beautiful, man.
Do your research, come on.
Come on. Yo, funny, man.
It's a wrap, man.
Until next time.
Until sleep, fear, cowardice, and laziness are our greatest enemies. Stand up and rise up to the challenge.
Right.
Send me that too, man. You got all the good stuff, man.
You got the goodies.
It's called Snatchies, Imam. It's called Snatchies, man. Some of these people are misrepresenting the facts, man. So it's called a Snatchies. Anyway, until next time, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Sunday evening. I hope everyone has a great week, and we will see you all on the flip side soon, December 31st, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. live here on the platform. More information forthcoming. Peace to you. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.
Peace.
I was told that truth out of season might get you killed. But Malcolm died in the winter. And I don't know what's colder than taking gunfire in the center of the same heart that beat like a djembe drum for its people. My Umi says they'll always come for the people who dare have the audacity to proclaim us equal. So his sentence to sudden death is yet another sequence in the sequel. Better yet, a chapter in the saga. He lays in a chapter of other martyrs. And I wish that this was some abstraction unthought of, that the bullets that claimed him had no name. But if you know, as he knew, without a molecule of doubt, that is not the nature of this game. When his soul was placed upon this plane, he painted with his entire life as a canvas, then placed it in a frame. His truth still lingers, his truth still remains. I can taste it when it rains. But for abolition, they'll engrave your alias on ammunition and then try to say the case is cold before Allah can raise your soul. But in these days, just know that his last breaths and his last steps never ended at the ballroom. February 21st was yet another pit stop in Harlem, as it was in Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Slauson. You can still feel the Malcolm in all them. We take our leave from the prince, and then we breathe for the prince. His single pursuit was Huck, and we've been breathing it since. So salutations to the man who died 3 times over, first as an outcast, second as a prisoner, third time as a soldier, who saw his people being crushed by the weight of the world, and then placed it on his shoulders. Something happened in that prison that's crafted every instance when a soul realizes the reality of living within this gap that we are given, that we've been masterfully hidden from the light of his dominion. And once that veil has been lifted, there's not a colonizer alive that can extinguish his flame. Severing 1,000 tongues won't make us relinquish his name. Don't let one ear of our children not hear about the man among men, about those towering shoulders as we stand upon them. Today, we send our forgiving prayers upon him, because he taught us to love ourselves. That every hourglass's sands have one end. Shabazz gave everything he had. His darkness, his light, his love, his life. And though our people still march through the night, though there are far more waters to wade in, we are armored for the fight. We are illuminated by his soul. We are awakened by his rage. And it was all written in with dried ink upon the page. Let the world forever know, from every sinner to every sage, that merely his body was taken on that stage. Audubon. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't work against us becoming Muslims if that's our choice. America is land of the free and home of the brave. And damn it, I'm brave and I'm free. And you can't take it away from me. I'm going to have freedom of choice. I choose Islam. I choose Quran. I choose Muhammad. I choose this religion for myself. And as long as my children are under my supervision and not of age to make their own decision, I am choosing Islam for all of my children. As long as my wife will like me, will love me, and she doesn't have to love me, as long as she respects me. I choose Islam for my wife. And that's my responsibility. And I hope you all feel the same way. Thank God we are free at last. We are free at last. You're not free when you're just free from physical bondage. You're not free until your mind is free and your human spirit is free. Your human spirit will take you where God wants you to go. And if you got that human spirit that will follow what God wants, your mind will be blessed by God to know how to get your body there. To get your body there. We're tired of being spooks in America or anywhere else. We are no spooks. We have a human body like everybody else. Don't tell me to accept God, immigrant Muslim from Pakistan and from Egypt and other places. Don't come over here and give me a life of Muslim ritualism. I had enough ritualism. I feel the genes in the, of my foreparents. They are in me. And I have a distaste for too much ritualism. I want reality. I want reality, and I want a place in this world. I want to obey God, and I want to get my share of this material world. Don't give me a spirit and tell me I can't have a body. God didn't give me a spirit and tell me I can't have a body. God gave me a spirit, and he gave me a material body to house my spirit. Now give me a material environment to house my mind and my spirit that is African American. We want to see New Africa. We want to see New Africa Islamic theaters. We want to see skyscrapers go up, and we build them. We want to see shipping lines and trucking lines and transportation lines all over in our neighborhood. We want to walk outside our house, and we want to look at the products and the construction and the industry of our own people, Muslim African Americans in New Africa, on these shores. On these shores. That's our rightful inheritance as the creation of God. God has created us for this. That's our natural inheritance. And we will accept nothing less. Nothing less. They have Spanish Town. They have Chinatown. Damn it, get ready for African-American town, Muslim New Africa. And I won't say it. I know you've been waiting for it. You've been waiting for me to say it. We cannot be stopped now.